Life's atypical, baby. Welcome to Atypical Podcast, where we talk about life's uncertainties, change, and unexpected twists, and find solutions together.
Hi, and welcome to the Atypical Podcast with Jordan.
And me.
Who the hell are you?
Amie.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Whew, I got scared there for a second.
Who else could I be?
I don't know. See that mask on your sweater that can kind of off screen.
What mask?
We can tell we're getting into the Halloween season. For you,
The
though,
Halloween season don't stop. It don't quit.
this is true. I was going to say the season starts November 1st for Amie.
What?
It starts November 1st.
Ah,
See what I'm saying?
gotcha.
So today we're going to be talking about special interests, how they can use special interests to help regulate their emotions, and maybe there's just something that neurotypicals can learn from us atypicals.
Speak for yourself. No, I think it's a good conversation to have because I think one of the things that maybe people struggle with is like if you do encounter someone who's neurodivergent, that you'll recognize very quickly that they have special interests and they want to talk about those special interests like all the time, all the time.
Absolutely.
And
Which is why we're having this podcast.
Yeah,
I want to talk about my special interests.
Yeah, but
Shameless plug for my own special interests.
anywho's, sometimes we have to understand what it's like. I just think actually just in relationships, in terms of just give and take, you just have to be able to understand that particularly folks who are neurodivergent, they need a little bit more TLC when it comes to hearing and learning about their special interests. And although it may not be your special interest, it's definitely theirs.
Consistency is key. You just keep on having, you just have to bludgeon them over and over again with your special interests until they become a pseudo interest. That's how you win the war.
What? Okay, so with that, I guess it's probably good for Jordan to talk about his special interests because he decided to do an episode on special interests. So, Jordan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your special interests?
Well, before I get into my own special interests, I think it's important to talk about what are special interests. Now, the term special interest itself can be a little bit condescending to some people. So there are other people who call them enthusiasms. Whatever it is, whatever the word is that you want to use, it just means it's a topic that's near and dear to that person's heart. And for folks who are atypical, whether that's ADHD or autistic or a combination of those things, they are a huge part of their life. So having a special interest it's not exactly the same as being in love, but it is very, very similar to being in love. It's a preoccupation. It is a thing that just consumes you and you want to spend all your time doing. Now, of course, it's important to point out that in this case, autistic traits or ADHD traits are human traits. So everybody can have an enthusiasm. It just so happens that for some folks, particularly folks with slightly different wiring, it's dialed up maybe a little bit more.
It's dialed up a lot more. Let's not even play games. Like, I should have known when I first met you that you had special interests because you had swords in your house. And I was just like, what the hell is this?
They were dope as hell.
Okay. So, yeah. So, like, I remember, like, meeting you and you had, like, your sword collection.
Yep.
You had, like, your Lord of the Rings stuff. I don't even know if you had any Star Trek stuff I don't think, yeah, did you have Star Trek stuff?
I did initially, and then I quickly hid them away.
Okay. Duh. And also, I am pretty sure you had, I don't know if you had Star Wars memorabilia or
I
not.
had the books up and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe that. But the thing is, the more I talk to you, is like, the more I realize how much you actually knew. But it's weird because that didn't mirror like your bedroom or anything. But it's like the knowledge was just like in there.
This is true. Percolating under the surface.
I don't know if you hid them because I think maybe that's the part we could talk about because I don't actually remember you really hiding your special interests. Like I think you pretty much like.
No, I did.
No, you did. Okay. So fine. This is, I guess, where we could talk about if you hid your special interests. To me, it was full power. So I need to understand what parts were hidden and then explain.
What you saw was the tip of the iceberg. If I had, well, okay. So I'm going to back it up a bit, then we'll definitely get into that. So special interests. Yes, certain folks, they can be taken to extremes. And if you read the DSM criteria for autism, certainly they're covered in there. It's in very pathologizing language, obviously, because it can become just like anything that's taken out of even high levels of, like, if we're talking about moderation, and then that's like our interest in things are a spectrum. I like to say to some of my clients when we're in session is like having a special interest is very much like having a 10,000 lumen flashlight, but you don't get to pick where it points. So it's not like you get to pick your special interest. They kind of pick you, right? It's kind of like the sorting hat.
What?
You just walk. No, I didn't pick.
Like a Harry Potter sorting hat?
Yeah. It was a brief
special interest. Just random. Like, what house are you in?
Of course, Hufflepuff, because I'm dope. Newt Scamander, Autism King.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, back to your
Gryffindors. Anyway, so
Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, because, like, you know,
I get Ravenclaw for sure. Because you know they're bookish and stuff like that. Hermione, there's no way Hermione should have been. So yeah, so special interests, in fact, are being used in a lot of cases therapeutically for folks who are neurodivergent to help manage anxiety and depression, which are common co-occurring issues that people tend to have at higher rates in the autism and ADHD or ADHD community. So embracing your special interests and using them as ways to counteract burnout and anxiety and depression and all these other ups and downs of life has been very fruitful. And I think neurotypicals, I mean, as much as neurodivergent folks have to live in a neurotypical world and play by neurotypical rules, there are things that neurotypical people can learn from us that I think might be helpful. Like investing yourself in a special interest can be very, very cathartic.
No, I agree with you. And I think that, you know, with everything, there's a double-edged sword, but I agree. And I kind of going to knock you on your language. Yes, you are neurodivergent living in a neurotypical world. But again, I think there's a lot of adjusting that we need to do in terms of even having that as a part of the conversation. Because I think that, you know, although we call it a neurotypical world, which it is, we need to kind of move to the fact that you're different people that think a different way, that learn a different way. And we have to be able to adapt to those styles. Just as we adapt to other styles of learning, I think, you know, we can go a long way. And that's why we have these types of conversations about special interests. I don't know what, I feel like, okay, here's my nerdiness coming out. So you know that line? It's a stupid line. You've seen Monster Squad, right?
Of course.
You know, when he like slams the papers down in front of the boys, like discipline reports. It's how I see you saying special interest.
I don't know what to make of any of those things. What am I supposed to say to that?
I don't know. It's just anyway, how you're saying special interest.
So, in answer to your question, yes, when we first met, I walked into my room. I was like, I really like this girl, but I had my own hangups, being a nerd in the 90s, about having my room peppered with Star Trek models and stuff like that. And I definitely pulled my models off the shelves and put them into boxes. And yeah, for sure. I mean, I dialed it back by 50% because I didn't know. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, risk that you're.
I wasn't going to get mad at you because
it's
of
not
your
mad.
toys.
It's not.
What you call them action figures.
No.
They're just dolls. They're dolls, right? The fact that you didn't have, like, you don't have to hide your things, and I don't think you should have. And I, like I said, you know, after many years of, you know, us living together and having kids, these things are still creeping up. Like, I'm just like, throw the toys away. Like, throw the action figures. Are they action figures? The ones
at this point, they're
Star
considered
Trek ones,
collectibles.
They're collecting dust. That's what they're collecting. They're in our children's closets. Anyways, but like, yeah, back to the whole thing. Like, I don't think you had to hide them. I think I would have just been, all right, he's got all this stuff out, whatever. Like,
well, listen.
Although you took the stuff down, what you said reflected your special
There's
interests.
only so much you can mask when you're that enthusiastic about something. I mean, I took them down because I mean, my whole childhood and teenagehood, I was bullied for it. So I just learned to hide it. And I kind of, you know, you just take the precautionary principle. If in doubt, hide your geeky stuff.
But that's so silly. I think it's, well, I shouldn't say silly. Being bullied is not silly. But I mean, if you think about it now as an adult, there's literally Comic-Con where people just go and dress up as their favorite character. They're still huge Trekkie fans and Star Wars fans, and just like they will talk to each other in Klingon. So I again, just saying, like, I don't think you had to hide who you were.
Just to let you know, like, the mask for autistic folks, particularly ASD1 folks, the mask is very complex, right? And it's there to protect you. The mask was there. Masking is when we hide our autistic traits or hide Like we force ourselves to make eye contact, or we, whatever, hide our enthusiasms, or we suppress our stims, or we internalize a lot of the struggles that we have in terms of anxiety and stuff like that. And again, everybody, it's just a matter of how much and to what degree it's kind of messing you up. Right. And so I just learned to hide it because I saw other people who were much more open about it just be terrorized. And I was like, well, I can't handle that. So I could just hide it. And then we met and I was like, well, I don't know where you stand because you seem kind of cool. And
I was not cool.
Well, little did I know. You seemed cool. And so I was like, yeah, no, I got to definitely hide it until whatever. And then for years, just to tell you, like, I was like, yes, I'm really interested in this still, but I'm a grown up now. And it's not cool to have this level of interest in anything.
I don't think it's ever changed. Let's just be honest.
It's never changed.
Okay, exactly.
I've pushed it away.
Thank you for that validation.
I have 100% tried to push it away.
But it doesn't work because your parents are still buying you Star Trek stuff.
Well, yeah. It's amazing.
Right. Okay, continue.
Talk about the highlight of my year is when I get a new Star Trek ship.
See, this is maybe where you can explain it to my neurotypical mind or whatever, because I have special interests or whatever, or things that I really like and I'm passionate about. And I just didn't give there's a small person in the room. I just did not care. Like, I love all things horror, as you can see from my sweater. Like, I just don't care if you think that it's childish or, oh, the movies aren't that great. I don't care. A to Z, I'm watching it. And it don't matter if you don't like it or not. I like it. So I just didn't care. I
admire that.
I thought it was cool.
I admired that.
For me, I went through my witch phase where, I was gonna say, I think every girl did, but probably not, where I was like super, I don't know if I'd say emo, but goth, and The Craft had come out and I was like, yeah, I'm like fire. And just, yeah, I tried to learn all about like the Salem witch trials and all those things definitely interested me and intrigued me, but I just did not care what anybody else thought. I was like, it's cool to me, so it's cool.
So what are your special interests, seeing as we're on the topic of you?
I told you, all things horror, true crime. I'm a glutton for punishment, really.
You watched all of the Cold Case files back in the early 90s?
Yeah, all the music, themes, everything. Yep. And then be completely terrified. I'd watch A&E. Like, if A&E should exist still, I don't know what has happened. But like, that was my go-to. I'd be like, well,
what interests you so much?
It was between Duckman, Sue Johansson, and true crime. Sorry, Mom. You got to get your answer somewhere. I don't know how Duckman figured into that. I think it was just late night television.
Duckman.
That show was so inappropriate. But yeah, I just really liked watching horror movies and true crime and understanding or trying to understand why people did things, why I liked being scared. I don't know. Because something's wrong with me. I watch horror movies to relax.
A nurse who's an adrenaline junkie, that's impossible.
Straight to labor and delivery. It's like it's either all or nothing, right? It's just like the gamble. It's just like, it's a rush. But I don't know. Like, I'm a thrill seeker. Right. And it's so weird because I would say that you're probably like the polar opposite. You're not a thrill seeker. You don't want danger or risk. And I'm like, danger, risk.
I definitely, I don't mind a little bit of excitement, but I also...
I have no idea how this works. It does.
Honestly, the gift I gave you when we got married was, I'll just say yes. You're like, Jordan, let's watch this horror movie. All right.
Don't act like you don't like them. Because...
Okay. There's a lot of chaff for the wheat.
No, just look, hold on. Just as you have your movies that you enjoy, I don't know how many times you watch the various different Star Wars, like 1 to 6 or 7. I don't know how many there are now. There's like 1,000. There's like a whole like Disney Plus, just like only really Star Wars.
There's only really 3 that matter. But anyway.
Well, I endured all that, so watch
Never even seen
a
Return of
crappy
the
horror
Jedi.
movie. I've seen all 3. I have.
Amie, let's stop.
I have. I like the movies, but it's just I want something different. Like for me, Aliens. We agree, right?
Well, yeah, because it's bridging into sci-fi.
But it's still a horror movie.
And it's a horror movie. It's a slasher movie more.
And Predator.
Amazing.
Right? So we figure it out. We make the lines work. But
thanks
yeah,
to James Cameron and Ridley Scott, we've managed to have a healthy marriage.
I guess so. I had these things that I liked, and I didn't care whether someone liked it or not. It just didn't bother me. It was like, this is what I like, and I like it, and you don't like it, then that you suck.
And there's some folks who are like that, and there's some autistic folks who are like that.
And I think it's important that we make the effort to talk about it.
My special interest, in case everybody obviously knows by now, is like Star Trek and Star Wars. Star Trek, some interests come and go, right? And so if you talk to like Tony Atwood, who's kind of like a psychologist in the autism community who deals with ASD1 specifically, he's like, some have a shelf life and some have this like enduring quality. So, but when the characteristic of a special interest is you don't pick it, it just is something your brain latches on. Yeah. And also it's very, very absorbing, and you will learn almost everything you can about it. But some of them have a shelf life. So like you'll burn out on something. Like I went down the cartel rabbit hole once, and I learned all sorts of stuff.
Cartel. You just would not stop about the cartels. I know I'll never go to Mexico now because it freaked me the hell out. I'm sure Mexico has very safe places, but you freaked me out about the cartels.
Can I tell you, I just needed to know everything. It's hard to explain. It's like, again, it's a 10,000 lumen flashlight. We don't get to pick where it points. And I think people can understand that, right? You don't know where your love of horror came from. You just love it, right? It's not like
trauma.
Yeah, well,
probably.
Well, anyway, so
we'll save that conversation for later.
For autistic folks, it's like, yes, you like Star Trek, but there's like usually an element of that thing that becomes an obsession. So mine was the ships. So yeah, so I have a thing for the ships, and I'm very, 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 very into the ships, in particular about the ships, and I just think they're beautiful, and that's my thing. I want to know all the things about them. So, and that'll be that way. And it has been that way since grade 5. My first major drawing was on a piece of wood my dad threw out because he didn't need it for some project he was working on. And I drew a picture of the Enterprise and a Romulan warbird, and I gave it to my grandma. And ever since then, I've been drawing Enterprises. In all of my university textbooks, you see Enterprises all over them. And all the way from like university down through high school, through middle school, on work documents nowadays.
And he's leaving stuff out. What were you doing at church when you were a little church boy?
Yes, at church, because I was so bored. It was an Anglican church, so you get it. I would take the collection money, because in Canada we have lots of coins. So I would take the collection money and I would form them in the shape of the Enterprise, but from the bird's eye view or the dorsal view of the ship. And I would pilot them around on the chair. And I would flip a spoon. This was before I had a model or any toys. So I'd flip a spoon upside down, and that would be the Enterprise. And I would a very typical thing with autism is you go from the corner of the eye and you watch the light kind of shine off of it. Anyway, it was a lot.
Can you see how he's like glowing? I know why you want to do this. This is about you, not about me.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so yeah, and then I got my first model and I built it, and the Christmas tree was the Borg and the Enterprise, and I would just fly my ship into, and then obviously we had this neighbor who worked at Hallmark and would get me the various ships at Hallmark, so that was amazing.
Yeah, it's too bad that we're gonna have to edit this in warp speed. Oh God, I can't believe it.
Hey folks, she understood the assignment.
Yeah, that we're gonna have to edit it so quickly, because it'd be kind of cool to show them our Christmas tree is literally full of
it's mostly ships.
It's mainly ships.
Yeah.
And various Star Wars stuff as well. It's like ships, the ornaments are probably more than the tree.
Anything you need to know, you can learn from Star Trek. I'll just put it out. I'm just letting you know.
Anything.
Almost anything. Like you want to learn a little bit about quantum mechanics. I mean, there's a lot of bullcrap science in there because it's just technobabble, they call it. But if you want to learn about a little bit about...
What is it called?
They call it technobabble because when they have a plot point and they
he's just dropping all the things today. I didn't even know there was a... What is it called?
Technobabble instead of technobabble, because it's just like Star Trek mumbo jumbo. But there's some actual science in there, right? Like a buzzard ram scoop is an actual thing that somebody thought about and tried to create a propulsion system. They incorporated that in the Enterprise. A matter-antimatter engine is a thing that you could act like an explosion of that magnitude would push something faster than the speed of light. Potentially. It would also blow it up. Shut up.
No, I'm glad that you have these special interests.
When I was 10, my cousins bought me a giant poster of the Enterprise, and it was like a cross section of it, so you could see inside the ship and all of the different decks and all the furniture and the people walking around the ship and stuff like that. Like, everybody knew what I was into. I was not hard to shop for.
They're hard to shop for now because then things ain't cheap.
Well, that doesn't make it hard to shop for me. It just makes it expensive to shop. People need to know about all the different starships.
Oh,
because I could let you know. And the funny thing is, I've never been to a Comic-Con or a Star Trek convention.
Well, we did go to Disney, and this was many years before the Nazis started marching. And we did experience like the Star Wars
Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, it was like very heavy into the new movies, but it still was amazing.
Yeah, the whole area.
I was very upset that we did not spend more time. Let's just stand here and bask. The fact of the matter is, having a special interest in terms of like, how do you figure out how to cure burnout, right? Now, obviously, it's going to be many points of light that help people get through those hard times. One of the things that helps autistic people, and I think it might help our neurotypical people, is engaging yourself in something that is cathartic and that's interesting. And that's not like really rocket science, but it's important to kind of pay attention to that, because when people think about burnout and engaging in your interests, I mean, that could look like different things, but becoming invested in a hobby or something that's deeply interesting and diverting can be a very, very healthy thing. Sometimes it's okay to be distracted. Sometimes it's okay to have yourself be distracted from the things that are going on in your head. The difference is when a distraction becomes avoidance, that's when we have a problem, right? So avoidance is like never getting back to the thing that was stressing you out to fix it, right? Sometimes it's okay to take a break. And sometimes engaging in a special interest, taking a little bit of time off and just being like, hey, listen, I'm just going to build myself a model, and that's going to be the thing I do for the next 5 hours, or I'm going to go to a Star Trek convention, or I'm going to go watch a horror movie marathon. Those are totally acceptable ways of recovering who you are and reminding yourself, like, what the hell are we here for? If not to engage in areas of interest and things that we love.
Right. No, I agree. And you've seen the studies about what psychologists say about people who engage in true crime and horror movies to relax. I don't think it's true.
I think I having been down the true crime rabbit hole, because certain aspects of that became an enthusiasm. Again, they don't pick you. I mean, you don't pick them. They can bum you out, like the cartel stuff.
Oh yeah,
the cartel stuff
can't bum you out.
The cartel stuff was like, as much as it was diverting, and I learned a lot and stuff. Maybe probably too much. There was a lot of stuff. It weighed heavily on.
I would say that that's probably what separates my love of horror movies versus like true crime, because I used to watch a lot of true crime, and then it definitely died down when I had kids, because I was just like, I can't handle this.
Yeah. It's different.
But then I think probably I can't say my love of horror increased, because I mean, I just love horror, but I just went down that rabbit hole a little bit more, right. And just because you can suspend your disbelief, like, this is so ridiculous,
just
over the top, and I know this will never happen, and it's a safe way to examine something that I know some of the stuff is like really crazy, but it's a safe way to examine like some of the fears, particularly that women might have to deal with and encounter. And I'm like, well, in this situation, I'll do this. In this situation, I'll do that. I would never do this. Yeah. And it's just like,
but that's also like one of the reasons it's important, like certain special interests for folks who are autistic, we use them to teach us social stories, right? And that's why I said everything you can learn from Star Trek, right? Good Lord, it's a utopian society where humanity has gotten over all of these kind of more petty components of it. And so if you're an autistic kid and you're taking that very seriously, and these are the people that you're modeling your behavior after, I mean, it's a pretty solid basis on which to operate your life when you're like, yeah, there's moral ambiguity, but it's just a very useful way of examining human nature when you're at its extremes. And so science fiction does that, but horror also does that, right? When you're trying to explore humanity, but it's also escapism. It's also an adventure. It's also entertaining characters if it's done well.
Yeah, and I would say that the other thing that people probably don't understand about horror, like you said, when it's done really well, it tells you a lot about who we are as a species.
Yeah. What do you think zombie
movies talks about, like, how we would deal with fear or our innermost fears, or how a social or collective society would deal with something that, could be a huge catastrophic triggering event, and how our most primal selves really do bubble to the surface. Or it's like it's never really gone that very primal sense of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, when horror is done really well, I think it tells us a lot about what makes us fearful and also how and why humans are to be feared, because we can be some really messed up creatures.
Yeah, I mean, look at a lot of these, like I was saying, these zombie horror movies. The zombies are not that interesting. Zombies are fairly one-dimensional in nature. There's not much to them. It's the humans that sell the movie, right? So Night of the Living Dead, the remake, but he was a huge part of both of our childhoods for very different reasons. He was in Amy's favorite horror movies, and he was in Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. So at the end of the day,
damn it, Koopa. Okay, see, I knew you got it.
How long was that? How long were you waiting for that one?
Like, from time. Special interests for like a neurodivergent person, or even just for a regular neurotypical. Is there ever any downsides?
Yeah, if they become all consuming and they start interfering with your activities of daily living, then it can become more of a challenge. Or if you have a hard time transitioning off of them. As a father of 4, I can feel the absence of being able to engage in my special interests. And so, because I used to use it to help regulate my moods, right? So not having that, I can feel the absence, but I chose to be a father, and that's okay. I can figure my way through it. And when our kids eventually go to university or whatever, and they become more self-sufficient, you're darn right, I'll be engaging more in my special
I
interests.
don't think you should wait that long. I think you still engage in your special interests because you have been painting models and stuff like that. You haven't been doing them recently, but
no, but you know why? Because one, model making, I don't actually care for the model making process. It's the fact that I want the thing.
You want the ship. Yeah.
But the only way to get the ship is to build the model, because they're hard to come by. So it's an intense source of frustration because I'm not very good at making models. And also, when I get into it, having to be pulled away, right? It's called monotropism in the autism community. So when you're like really good at one thing at a time, really bad at multitasking, which is essentially multitasking is just switching from one task to another really quickly, which is not my forte, as you well know. So getting engaged in a project like that and then being pulled away from it can cause a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. So sometimes it's better to realize that it's maybe not such a good idea to get involved in it to begin with for now. Listen, you got to know thyself, right? But there are other ways. Like I listen to tons of Star Trek music at work because it just plays in the background.
You just play Star Trek music.
Figure out ways of cramming it into the margins to figure out how to scratch that itch somehow. But for you neurotypicals, maybe there's something that you love, something that you find interesting that you haven't had a chance to really get into. But if you're feeling burnt out, feeling overwhelmed because the world is a weird and not so great place at the moment for some folks, try finding a special interest. I mean, sometimes you can pick your special interest.
What if someone's special interest is toxic? We can't really get into it.
Well, listen, there's a difference between a special interest and an addiction, right? So,
but they might find it interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. You got to be careful of those dopamine traps as well, right?
So how is special interest not considered a dopamine trap?
Well, it's still a dopamine trap to a certain degree, but it's something that you need to explore. And again, everything is in moderation, right? For autistic people or allistic people, it doesn't matter.
What's that?
What?
What's that?
Moderation?
Yeah.
In our society, it's hard to come by.
Indeed.
You have actually made me like horror movies a lot more than I used to.
See?
They've briefly become special interests.
He sees the light.
Not entirely.
Yeah, he does.
I have always liked sci-fi horror movies like Alien and Predator and stuff like that. There are just not that many of them, especially not that many good ones. I mean, I was talking to you about Mandalorian season 3 while you're getting C-sectioned.
No, that was at my request.
That was at your request.
Yeah, and Pedro Pascal. If you know, you know. Special interest.
Barely in the show. Mostly just John Wayne's grandson.
We know it's him.
Okay. Look it up, folks. He was barely ever in the suit.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that we learn about special interests. Of course, we have our own. And then for folks that are neurodivergent, for us to be able to engage and to say, hey, okay, tell me a little bit more about the things that you're interested in. And sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. Sometimes it's like, no, you are not a part of this special interest. This is my special interest, which is fine. But I think it's important that, know that they're there. And also that I think that also helps open the conversation. talking to Tristan, our son, about his special interests makes him communicate, have more things to say. So I think it's just another way of exchanging information. And what we would say is sharing the joy.
Absolutely. Right. Share the joy.
Share the joy.
And don't be afraid to let them know very politely that it's okay to switch topics now, because some of us are not always great at understanding when to switch topics once we get onto one that we're really interested in. Sometimes the volume goes up without us knowing. He has to tell me to stop talking so loud in public.
I don't think I've ever done that.
When I start talking about an area of interest, you're like, Jordan, you're practically yelling.
Okay,
and I'm like,
maybe
really?
That's happened like once or twice.
So yeah, I mean, I just think it's good to have insights into how other people think and to broaden, like you said. Right now, we're using terms like autistic, neurotypical, neurodivergent, all these terms, right? And the hope is that one day we don't really need those terms, because the spectrum of what we consider normative will broaden, so that being autistic is just another way of being a human being that doesn't require an additional label. Unfortunately, in our current society, our concept of normativity is still razor thin. So this is what's acceptable, and everything out here is considered not.
We really should be flipping that on its head, because if you've watched the news lately, we know that things are well outside of the norm. With that having said that, I think it's important that we broaden our perspectives and we make space and give up space, because we take up too much space, us neurotypicals, and, engage in something that we, like you said, using it as a tool for burnout, and then also just using it as a tool to engage with someone who is neurodiverse and being like, hey, tell me a little bit about your favorite thing. And trust me, they'll tell you about their favorite thing.
Stuff right there.
Oh my God, that's such a creepy look. Well, thank you so much for listening to Atypical Podcast with Amie and
Commander Jordan with his Riker, with the Riker
he's
beard.
Fully doing the Riker beard.
Jonathan Frakes, you're my hero.
Oh my gosh. So tune in and listen to us next week, as we will be talking about all things atypical. Have no idea. I told you there was an episode that I'd like us to do. It's a little risque, but we're going to try.
I'm down.
Maybe not with the subject matter, but with the conversation.
Stay tuned to find out.
Indeed. Take care.
Be well.